You ever wonder how a city really becomes what it is? Is it all part of some grand plan, or is it just a messy series of accidents and, really bitter fights? Well, today, we're diving into one single moment in Toronto's history, the cancellation of a massive expressway that, you could argue, did more to shape the city we know today than anything else. It all boils down to these words, right here. When Premier Bill Davis said this, he didn't just stop some bulldozers. He slammed the brakes on an entire vision for the future of the city. These few sentences probably had more impact than 1,000 city planning reports. So, to get why this one decision was so huge, we've got to rewind the clock. Let's call this Act 1, the vision. This is the story of Toronto after the war, a city just bursting with optimism, and this almost religious belief that we could plan and engineer the perfect modern city from the ground up. At the very heart of this whole fight were two totally opposite ideas of what a city is even for. On one side, you had the suburban dream. The idea was, hey, the future is out there, so let's just tear down parts of the old city to build highways so people can drive to their jobs downtown. But then there was the city vision, held by the people who actually live there. They were saying, hold on, our homes matter. We don't want our downtown to just become a giant parking lot. Maybe we should invest in transit instead. And you have to remember the context of the time. This was right after World War II, and people were totally on board with big, large-scale government projects. Planning wasn't a dirty word. It was the promise of a better, cleaner, more organized future. It was seen as the only way to handle the massive boom in population and the economy. So, with this absolute faith in planning, and the car being the ultimate symbol of modern freedom, a grand design for Toronto started to take shape. And it was all built around the automobile. And listen, this wasn't some idea they cooked up overnight. Look at this. As early as 1943, planners were already sketching out a Toronto that was just crisscrossed with superhighways. This map right here, this is that first master plan. It basically laid the DNA for how the region was going to grow for the next half-century. Now fast forward to the mid-60s, and that early dream has become a super detailed official blueprint. This is the plan from the Metro Toronto Planning Board. And you can see right away, the Spadina Expressway wasn't just some standalone road. It was a critical artery in a massive citywide network of expressways, all designed to pump cars right into the heart of the city. So what was the Spadina Expressway exactly? Well, the plan was for a 6-lane highway, stretching from the suburbs right down towards the core. And, to be fair to the planners, it was actually pretty innovative for the time. They designed it so a brand new subway line would run right down the middle of it. And this brings us to Act 2, the collision, because the planners had their grand design all mapped out, but they were about to crash head-on into an immovable object, the actual people who lived in the path of all that concrete. The opposition was this incredible mix of people. It really wasn't just one group. You had ordinary residents who were literally fighting to save their homes, you had professors and students from the university, and then you had the heavyweight, the world-famous urban thinker Jane Jacobs, who had just moved to Toronto after winning a very similar fight in New York City. They all rallied together under this one perfect banner: Stop Spadina, Save Our City. And this really gets to what was at stake. These activists weren't just being selfish, not in my backyard. They had looked south of the border and had seen how these massive expressways had completely gutted the downtowns of major American cities. They were terrified Toronto was about to walk right off the same cliff. This was a battle for the soul of the city. So the fight just raged for years, and it was all building to this incredibly dramatic showdown. The entire fate of the city, it was going to end up in the hands of one man, the brand new premier. And check out how fast this all went down. In February of '71, the expressway gets the green light from the Ontario Municipal Board. For the activists, it looks like it's game over. But then, just a month later, a new premier, Bill Davis, takes power. His own government is totally split on the issue. And then, on June 3rd, he just walks into the legislature and drops a bombshell. He's killing the project, just like that. The city absolutely exploded. On one side, you had people literally snake dancing in the streets, celebrating, shouting, "We've won. You can beat City Hall." But the guys who backed the project, they were furious. One called the decision unbelievable. The mayor called it short-sighted and stupid. This didn't solve the debate. It just split the city right down the middle. And that brings us to Act 3, the reckoning. The fight was over, sure. But the fallout from that one decision would shape Toronto for the next 50 years and create the city that we live in today. So what was the immediate result? Well, for years, it was this, a giant, ugly, unfinished trench just carved through the city, a big scar. Everyone called it the Spadina Ditch, and it was this constant, physical reminder of this huge battle and the road that never was. But even with the project dead, its ghost kind of lingered. A lot of pro-expressway politicians figured, okay, the minute Davis is out of office, we'll just start the construction back up. But Bill Davis, well, he had one last brilliant move up his sleeve. Get this, on February 7th, 1985, his very last day's premiere, Bill Davis signed a little deal. He leased a tiny but absolutely critical 3-foot-wide strip of land that was right in the expressway's path, and he leased it to the city of Toronto. The lease was for 99 years. The price? $1. With the stroke of a pen, he made it physically impossible to ever finish the road. But killing the road for good didn't kill the debate. Not even close. To this day, these are the questions that hang over the city. Is Toronto's famous traffic gridlock the price we paid for stopping Spadina? Did this decision create a precedent where politicians now just feel free to ignore their expert planners? Or, on the other hand, did it save the vibrant, walkable downtown neighborhoods that are so key to Toronto's identity today? And if you think this is all just ancient history, listen to this quote. This is from Paul Godfrey, a hugely powerful figure in the city, talking in 2015. More than 40 years later, he still thinks they made the wrong call. The ghost of the Spadina Expressway has never really gone away. So that leaves us with this final big question. When you look at Toronto today, with its amazing urban neighborhoods, but also its soul-crushing traffic, what are you really looking at? Was this city the result of a deliberate, conscious choice to put people ahead of cars? Or was it all just an accident, the messy outcome of one single political battle? A city that wasn't so much planned as it just happened. It's a question that really gets you thinking about how our cities are made.